Now, after 5 long months in intensive care, there is finally some good news for the UK's most premature twins. Harry Crane has been discharged from hospital and his sister Harley is expected to join him at home this week.
Yeah, the twins were actually born 4 months early last October at just 22 weeks and 5 days and have already undergone 6 operations between them. Zoe Conway has been to meet the family.
Jade and Steve feared this day would never come.
Oh, wow.
When they'd be able to take their baby Harry home.
Excited.
Joy.
I can imagine when you win the lottery, you feel the same.
Yeah.
It's coming to terms with something happening so good to you that you didn't think would.
They're leaving behind Harley, Harry's twin sister, who's expected to be discharged later this week from the neonatal unit. Harry is now a healthy 6 pounds. He still needs oxygen to help him breathe, and he'll need to be closely monitored at home by his parents.
Okay.
Harry and his sister Harley were born in October last year. Jade's pregnancy had lasted just 22 weeks. The twins were not expected to survive. Soon after Jade's water broke, her daughter Harley was born.
I said, I can't hear her cry. And one of the midwives said, you won't at this gestation. At that moment, we heard her go, ah. The midwife was like, yeah, she cried. And that there was the neonatal team were then working on her to get her, breathing support and whipped her off to the neonatal unit.
Nobody could believe it.
Nobody could believe it.
Harley weighed 500 grams. She was almost 15 centimetres long. Whilst the medics looked after her, Harry stayed inside Jade's womb for another hour.
So I just tried with everything that I could to get him out because I knew he wasn't being monitored and he needed to be out to be monitored. So I forced him with all my might to get him out, and he came out in his bag still.
When Harry finally arrived, he weighed more than Harley. He was 520 grams. He was also 15 centimetres long. Whilst Jade was still in labour, Steve would go to visit Harley in the neonatal intensive care unit, or NICU.
The first few weeks, I didn't think I'd make that walk to go and see her, so I had just held on to that. And then I didn't think I'd see the next day, and then that came, and then it's another day and another week.
The overwhelming majority of babies born at 22 weeks don't survive, even with intensive medical treatment. One day, a bereavement nurse came to see Jade and Steve and told them to prepare to say goodbye to their children. They organised a christening.
And you're picking outfits for them that they're going to wear for their christening. And they, it just looked like a funeral because they're just laying there in these little silk outfits looking extremely poorly, and you've had all the family in, one by one. I did feel like if I gave him a christening, it felt like I was saying to God that it's okay to take them, and that wasn't the case.
The twins were constantly at risk of infection of sepsis. They experienced bleeding on the brain. There was lung disease. Harley had to have surgery for a perforated bowel. Between them, they had 25 blood transfusions. There were many difficult conversations with the medical team. When was it right to continue with invasive, complex medical procedures? And when should comfort care or palliative care be offered instead?
Hugely emotionally challenging to look after the babies in our care, whether they have very short journeys with us or many, many months. Actually, the level at which you sometimes just spend time, particularly for the nurses, they're often at the cot side of these babies for 12 and 13 hours at a time with their families, and it's not our experience, it's not our babies, but you go through some of that with them, and in no means do we pretend that we're never affected as a team, because we're humans looking after other humans.
Jade and Steve say they can already see Harry and Harley's personalities shining through.
Of course,
Yeah,
I mean, from day one, Harley was extremely feisty. One of the nurses, in fact, she said she kicked her as she got her out, put her into the incubator. Harley kicked the nurse. And the nurse said, oh, we've got a feisty one here, which is always a good sign with a premature baby, that if they've got, you know, if they show that fight really early on. Whereas Harry, he the same now. He's always been Mr. Laid Back. He takes a back seat and he's just, you know, Mr. Chill.
Gets on with stuff.
Steve and Jade have been warned that the twins could face developmental challenges in the future, but they're not thinking about that now. They've learned to take things one day at a time, and perhaps more than anything else, to just believe in their children. Zoe Conway, BBC News.
It's a little bit of joy for you.
Been through a
Good
lot, haven't they,
news.
that
They've
family
been